I went to Howard University, and I showed up to Howard with like a little bit of equipment, and that was a big thing because when I showed up my freshman year, went in this little freshman dorm, and I had a keyboard, cats were like, "Oh, you play? Oh, yo, you do beats?" And the next thing they came in, and then it just created this synergy. And we all crashed and burned and learned together. And then, of course, hey, we bought a little digital 4-track or, rolling 1680 or 1080, and we're recording songs in our living room. And then I started working at a studio called NightFlight Studios in Maryland. A brother named Kevin Jackson owned that studio, and he had some really big hits at the time. And really, my first major placement came with him. Working out of there. And I will tell you that it was interesting. I don't know how much production level lessons I really got from it, or I don't know how many songwriting lessons I got. I got it. But more importantly, I watched that his kids was in the studio while we were working. At no point did he ever stop working when his kids walked in. At no point did he ever kick his kids out the room. And they were young. They would come in, they would hang out, and they would just sit down and, play around and whatever. And they might be making too much noise, and he just kept working. And the dope thing about NightFlight, and it's still there, he built a studio in the back of his mom's house. So his studio first was in a garage. And then as it grew popular, he built this huge section. I mean, the studio is bigger than most houses. So mind you, now the studio is literally the same size as the house, just behind the house now, right? While at the same time, this dude got like a 5-bedroom, massive house down the street, because he's at this point a successful businessman, songwriter, producer. And I was like, okay, he kept it close to the family, he kept it in his town. He didn't, and I think I signed my publishing deal with EMI, made more money than I ever did in my life, and I moved in with my parents, and it was like crazy. I know a lot of people was scratching their head like, yo, you could buy a house right now. You could buy a Range Rover right now. I'm like, I'm gonna hold on to this money and I'm gonna move in with my parents. You know what I'm saying? And I built a studio at my parents' house because that's what I saw Kevin Jackson do, And I think the fact that like, even the house I'm in now, first thing when we bought this house about 3 years ago, I built a studio. And I built the studio for like my kids to be able to come in. I wanted it to be open enough room and that they could come in and chill. There's a TV for them to watch. You can put headphones on, or they can sit down and play music. But I can do my work while they're interacting with me. And I think a lot of that came from watching Kevin Jackson while I was in college. I was watching that. And then also other lessons. Like I remember working with Carl Thomas, and when I worked with him, his son was there. His son was real little, like 2 or 3 years old. And it was another lesson for me going like, oh, okay, and I have kids. My kids can be with me while I'm working. You know what I mean? It was like I was kind of taking all those things. So, I mean, I've taken a lot of lessons. I mean, when I really give somebody like production and songwriting credit of mentoring, it got to be DJ Jazzy Jeff and like A Touch of Jazz time. Like graduating and then like coming to Philadelphia, A Touch of Jazz was like my grad school, because he had 4 studio rooms down there. Every bell and whistle you could think of. He had a vibraphone, drums, MPs, keyboards, ADAT tapes, 2-inch reel, microphones upon microphones. And at no point, just keeping it 100, was he like, yo, y'all got to be making something in here that's going to make us money. It was like, just do something dope. Do something dope. So we might hang a microphone in the middle of the room, and I might sit in the corner and be like, yeah, and it would create a natural reverb. Oh, that's crazy. Or we might spend the whole day trying to make the live drum set sound like the kick on the MP. Boom, boom, boom. Yo, kick it again. Doom, doom, doom. Add another pillow. Boom, boom, boom. Yo, put some tape on it. For hours at a time. Till one day we was like, doom, doom, doom. Hit it now. Doom, doom, doom. Yo, God, we got it. It's like, and then when now we cutting Jill Scott or whatever, Music Soul Child, and that drum is sounding crazy. How did it get that crazy? It got crazy from the time that y'all put in, doing that. So I think I really became an artist. I really became like understanding that like you gotta put your 10,000 hours in. And that was, A Touch of Jazz Studios was the first place where I was allowed to start really putting those hours in, to get to a point where I felt I could call myself a songwriter, or call myself a producer, or call myself an artist.